Flores Island is not large. It's not generous. And it has never cared about what should exist there. It sits east of Java, surrounded by deep water that never drained, even when ice ages locked oceans away. No land bridge. No accidental highways. If something arrived on Flores, it arrived by mistake. And once there, it stayed. This matters, because islands don't play by mainland rules. On continents, evolution has room. You can move, expand, fail, try again somewhere else. Bad traits can drift away. Good ones can spread. There's always an elsewhere. Flores had no elsewhere. The first humans to reach the island were likely Homo erectus, tall, long-legged, big-brained by ancient standards. They arrived the way most island animals do, not by planning, but by accident. Storms, rafts of vegetation, wrong turns that became permanent. And at first, they probably looked normal. But normal is expensive. Islands are economies of scarcity. There are fewer calories, fewer large animals, fewer mistakes allowed. On Flores, the largest prey weren't mammoths or bison. They were dwarf elephants, already shrunken by the same pressures. Everything big had already been downsized or erased. A large human body needed more food than the island could reliably provide. So selection began doing what it always does when resources tighten. It edited, not in one dramatic leap, not in a single generation, but slowly, relentlessly, trait by trait. Shorter individuals survived droughts better. Smaller bodies needed fewer calories. Slightly smaller brains burned less energy. Those people lived, others didn't. Over thousands of years, something subtle happened. Children grew up a little shorter than their grandparents. Faces changed, skulls shifted, brains compacted. No catastrophe, no collapse, just arithmetic. Eventually, the fossils stopped looking like us. They belonged to something else. About 1 meter tall, with curved shoulders, short legs, a brain about a third the size of modern humans. Yet, this is the detail that ruins every simple explanation. They made tools. They hunted. They organized. They survived. Flores did not break humans. It reshaped them. And that reshaping didn't happen because evolution wanted something new. It happened because the island demanded something cheaper. Alright, let's cross that line. The island that shrank humans, Part 2. The island's rules don't announce themselves. They don't arrive as laws or disasters. They reveal themselves through who fails to survive. On Flores, the rules became impossible to ignore when the bodies stopped changing randomly and started changing consistently. Generation after generation, the same pattern held. Smaller adults lived longer. Smaller children reached adulthood more often. Smaller brains burned fewer calories and still did the job. This wasn't drift. It was direction. Evolution had made up its mind. The usual story says intelligence is always favored. Bigger brains mean better tools, better planning, better survival. Flores disagrees. Brains are hungry organs. They consume enormous energy. On a rich continent, that cost pays for itself. On an island, it can kill you. So selection didn't erase intelligence. It compressed it. The Flores humans lost volume, not capability. Their stone tools were simple, but precise. Their hunting was cooperative, but restrained. Their lives were narrow, but stable. They weren't innovating toward the future. They were maintaining the present. And on Flores, that was enough. The island also punished speed. Long legs are great for chasing prey across open plains. Flores had no plains. Shorter legs, stockier frames, lower centers of gravity, better for steep terrain, dense forests, and careful movement. Falling badly on an island with limited medical survival is a death sentence. The island didn't reward heroics. It rewarded caution. Then there's the matter of time. These changes didn't happen in a rush. They unfolded over hundreds of thousands of years. Which means no generation ever noticed what was happening. Parents didn't think their children were becoming something else. They just thought the island was being, the island. This is how evolutionary traps work. They don't feel like traps. They feel like adaptation. By the time Homo floresiensis fully existed, the rules were complete. Be small. Be efficient. Waste nothing. Want little. Need less. Anyone who deviated paid for it. Not because the island was cruel, but because it was indifferent. And that's the hardest part to accept. Flores wasn't hostile. It wasn't trying to humble humans. It simply never changed its terms. And humans, brilliant as they are, had only two choices. Rewrite themselves, or disappear. They rewrote themselves. The Island That Shrank Humans, Part 3. For hundreds of thousands of years, Flores was enough. The rules were clear. The costs were known. The margins were tight, but stable. Homo floresiensis had become perfectly matched to their island. Not dominant, not expanding, just balanced. And then something arrived that did not belong to the equation. It wasn't a predator, not a volcano, not climate. It was another human. Modern Homo sapiens reached the region sometime around 50,000 years ago, spreading rapidly through Southeast Asia and into Australia. They came with larger bodies, larger brains, broader social networks, and a habit that matters more than any single trait. They changed environments instead of fitting into them. Flores had never prepared its people for this. Island rules work only when everyone plays by them. The Hobbit humans were optimized for a closed system. Limited resources, familiar prey, predictable competitors. Sapiens were not closed system creatures. They burned through resources faster. They hunted more aggressively. They reproduced and spread. They disrupted balances without meaning to. Not because they were cruel, but because their evolutionary strategy assumed escape was always possible. There is no evidence of war. No massacre layer. No battlefield. That's important. Extinction doesn't always come from violence. Sometimes it comes from being outcompeted by a different logic. A larger-brained species doesn't need to kill you directly. It just needs to change the rules faster than you can adapt. Within a geological blink, Homo floresiensis disappears from the fossil record. Not with drama, not with a final stand. Just, done. Perfectly adapted to a world that no longer existed. This is the final cruelty of islands. They make you excellent at surviving yesterday. Flores shaped humans into something astonishing. A compact, efficient, resilient version of ourselves. But it also locked them into a strategy that could not pivot fast enough when novelty arrived. The lesson of the island isn't that small is bad. Or that big always wins. It's this. Adaptation is only safe as long as the rules stay the same. And when the world changes abruptly, the traits that once saved you can become the ones that erase you. The Hobbit didn't fail. They mastered their island. They just never learned how to leave it. And history has a brutal habit of favoring those who carry escape routes inside their own minds. Alright, one last descent. The Island That Shrank Humans, Part 4. The island never prepared them for novelty. Not slow change. Not pressure. Not scarcity. It never prepared them for something new. Because on Flores, novelty was rare. The climate shifted, yes, but predictably. The animals evolved, but gradually. The forests grew and thinned, but returned. Everything happened on a schedule the body could track. Until it didn't. Modern humans didn't just arrive with bigger brains. They arrived with behaviors that break equilibrium. Fire used differently. Hunting that pushed prey beyond recovery. Movement that ignored boundaries. Curiosity without restraint. To an island-adapted human, this would have felt less like invasion and more like reality malfunctioning. Prey disappearing too quickly. Forests altered too fast. Sounds, smells, rhythms changing within a single lifetime. Evolution can't respond to that. Evolution needs patience. Novelty demands speed. There's a haunting detail hidden in Flores folklore. Local legends speak of small people, the Ebu Gogo, hairy, child-sized, clever, but not quite human. They steal food. They mimic speech. They vanish into the forest. Stories persist long after bones stop appearing, which tells us something unsettling. The end may not have been clean. There may have been overlap, confusion, recognition without understanding. Two kinds of humans sharing a landscape. One built for permanence, one built for disruption. The island had optimized its people for continuity. Sapiens optimized for change. That difference is fatal in one direction only. Here is the quiet truth Flores leaves behind. Being perfectly adapted is dangerous. It feels like success. It looks like stability. It rewards obedience to the present. But it strips you of excess capacity, redundancy, experimentation, wasteful intelligence. The very things you need when the world stops behaving. The island shrank humans not because it hated them. It shrank them because it could. Because it demanded efficiency, and humans complied, until the day efficiency was no longer enough. Flores is not a story about extinction. It's a story about specialization. About what happens when survival depends on fitting so well into your environment that you forget environments can change faster than bodies. The rewritten humans didn't lose. They solved their world. They just solved it too precisely. And when the problem changed, there was no room left to think differently. That's the final rule of the island. Greater than what saves you for a long time. We go past extinction now. This is the afterimage. The island that shrank humans, Part 5. The island never prepared them for absence. Because extinction isn't an event you experience. It's something that happens around you. One generation is there, the next is smaller, then quieter, then missing, and the island keeps going. Forest did not notice when its humans vanished. The forests still grew, the rivers still flooded, the volcanic soil stayed rich and dangerous. This is another rule islands teach. The world does not mourn efficiency once it has extracted it. What remains are fragments. A femur too short, a skull too small, tools just precise enough to prove intention. For decades, scientists argued over these bones. Too small to be human. Too capable to be something else. So they tried to explain them away. Disease, pathology, defect, because accepting the alternative is harder. That humanity has more than one stable form. And which one exists depends entirely on the cost of survival. Flores exposes something we don't like to look at directly. Human traits are not sacred. They are negotiable. Height, brain size, longevity, curiosity, all of them can be bargained away if the environment stops paying for them. The island didn't create monsters or miracles. It created accountants. Every calorie counted, every thought justified, every gram of brain had to earn its keep. And for a very long time, that worked. Which means the unsettling part isn't that humans once shrank. It's that they could again. Not biologically tomorrow, but strategically, when systems close, when movement narrows, when experimentation becomes risky, when efficiency is rewarded over exploration. We begin, quietly, to resemble island creatures. Flores isn't a warning carved in stone. It's a reminder written in bone. Greater than evolution doesn't ask what you want to become. It asks what you can afford to be. And if the answer is less, it will take the rest without apology. The island that shrank humans is still there. It doesn't need to act again. It already taught the lesson. All that remains is whether we remember it, or whether, like those before us, we adapt so perfectly to the present that we forget to leave room for the future. We're at the echo now. Not the island, what the island leaves behind in us. The island that shrank humans, Part 6. The island never prepared them for memory. Because memory outlives bodies, the Flores humans are gone, but they left behind a strange residue. Not just bones in limestone, but questions that refuse to stay buried. For a long time, we treated Homo floresiensis as an anomaly. A curiosity, a footnote, a puzzle to be solved and shelved. That was a mistake. They aren't an exception to human history. They are a boundary condition. They show us how flexible, human, actually is when pressure is applied long enough and escape is removed. The island forced humanity into a narrow corridor. And humanity fit, which means something uncomfortable follows. Most of what we think of as essential, human traits only exist because the world has been generous enough to afford them. Big brains require surplus. Art requires safety. Exploration requires exits. Risk requires forgiveness. Take those away slowly enough, and nothing breaks. It just compresses. The Flores humans never knew they were becoming something smaller. From the inside, life probably felt normal. Predictable. Solved. That's the danger. The most extreme adaptations don't feel like decline. They feel like stability. This is why their story lingers. Not because they vanished, but because they worked. They survived tens of thousands of years in a closed system. That success is what makes them terrifying. The island never prepared them for a world that would remember them. A world that would dig them up and realize. Greater than humanity is not a fixed destination. It is a range. And where you land on that range depends on how open your future is. So part 6 isn't about Flores anymore. It's about us, standing on the mainland, pretending islands can't form beneath our feet. Systems close quietly, incentives narrow, margins shrink, exits disappear, and we call it optimization. The island doesn't need oceans. It only needs rules that stop changing. Because once the rules freeze, adaptation begins shaving you down to fit them. The rewritten humans met novelty, competition, absence, and memory. They never met choice. Choice requires room, and Flores never had any. That's the final inheritance of the island. Greater than survival without escape produces something efficient, stable, and real. But fragile to the future. The bones on Flores are small. The lesson is not. May quietly prepare you for a sudden end. And the island will never warn you when that moment is coming.